Smart 24, driving business.
There. A very good morning to you. Welcome to Smart Means Business. We do apologize for the technicalities. They are solved and we are back here live on Smart 24 TV. It's always a delight to have you. My name is Kem Shadorin. I will be taking you right through with my colleague later on. So we are going to be talking about a couple of things today, and just as we do it here, right here at Smart 24 TV, we are driving business. Smart means business. We get you the latest national, regional, as well as international news. Today's focus is going to be eco-pay. Eco-pay for work. What is the minimum wage in Uganda? We have had this topic here, and more or less as an undertone a number of times in Smart Means Business. And we have been talking about, of course, the difficulties, the complexities, and of course the setting for exploitation for Ugandan labor by different persons that come into the country purportedly under investment. If you don't have a minimum wage, you definitely have being implemented, a minimum wage being implemented, you set a precedence, obviously, for exploitation. We will be looking at the medical field as well as education. Join us 9 to 10 today for that daily dose of business insight, where we do have someone join us on set as they give us insight on different pertinent issues happening not only just within Uganda but elsewhere. Now, on today, of course, we will be talking about the education sector in Uganda. We do recall, of course, that the science teachers got that raise, while the art teachers, of course, had the industrial action coming in from UNATU. That was way back in 2022. So what happened after that? What has been there? Actually, in most cases, the situation has gone in more or less, especially during the lockdown, the pandemic. It was quite difficult for teachers who would want to find out, is eco-pay a dream or it is a reality, something within the offing? Please join us between 9 to 10 as we get to talk to the UNATU General Secretary, Mr. Baguma Philbert, as he will be filling us in on what the union is doing to push for this eco-pay amongst the teaching profession. So right about now, we do get into that little bit of a sneak peek into which we talk about the different arenas, really, when it comes to pay. Not only Ugandans, really, at a particular more or less disadvantage. We were looking at some of the countries within Africa that have been recorded to have better pay, and that is minimum, really good minimum pay. You have countries such as Seychelles and Mauritius coming up, and of course part of Ivory Coast, Western African countries coming in the first 5 docket coming in there. And of course you did have some good news coming in from Kenya as well, talking about the minimum wage and talking about the fact that, of course, we've had instances here. There have been reports right here from our team talking about, with different highlights on the brain drain, the professionals actually fleeing the country in search of greener pastures. We did showcase that story here on Smart Means Business, talking about how the doctors are fleeing, of course, how different teachers right now are looking for greener pastures elsewhere. But one of the reasons, talking about not only just health and education, if we give you insight into that, you will get to realize that post-pandemic, and I hinted on this through this week, at the beginning of this week, we did talk about that right during the pandemic and the suffering that the teachers had pre-pandemic and then also post-pandemic. During that entire season, we did have quite a number of teachers within Uganda ditch the profession, opting out for business, and of course others just ditching and getting into the different organizations around. But looking at it, some of the feedback coming from the teachers that had ditched was the ridiculous amount of pay, ranging in from 300,000 for primary school teachers, which is still quite low, and of course the average coming in at around 770, actually between 650 to 770,000 for an average teacher. But most of that docket is within the secondary school for that average. Those are reports coming in. Of course, you do have other organizations that have carried out some of these different surveys and come out with those different averages. So how does the average teacher, how does the teacher in Uganda manage to live on a docket like a primary school teacher living on something as low as 300,000? And of course, you do have the secondary school teachers really averaging in at around 650 to 770,000 shillings per month. How do they live off that? You do have, of course, a couple of schools that do give accommodation that eases it. And then you do have the majority, especially private schools, that will really give them even way lower than that. Of course, you do have the additional packs. Some really grounded schools will give additional packs and the occasional food and whatever baskets they can give them. But of course, the majority, we are talking about the majority of the schools that do not apply those additional packs to the teachers' pay. We did have, of course, during this week, children getting back into schools, and some of the notable things that we did notice as our team captured down on ground was the fact that most of the schools were not allowing children with arrears to get into school. And of course, what was the plight? They said, we do have bills to pay. Those were the school administrators. We do have bills to pay in school, but we also need to pay our teachers. That means in most cases, by the time the teachers are getting back for the reporting of the new term, there are arrears to be cleared. So you have little pay, and then you have arrears, not even paid on time, and then paid in installments. You can imagine the quality of life. Please join us from 9 to 10 as we do take it on from there. We are talking equal pay. And then when it comes, of course, later on, we'll be talking about the general gender dynamics later on during the week. The dynamics, the implications, those science teachers that raise almost 300% increment. What about the art teachers? When you look at the different dimensions, gender dimensions, which gender basically falls most within the arts or the sciences? We will be having, of course, this analysis later on all throughout the week, talking about equal pay. But for now, let's just take a short break and let's be right back with press review in just a moment. Abuja mission crisis sparks queries on accountability. Let's start it off there. Whereas the mission accuses Mr. Eria Tusubila of being absent from his post for more than 6 months, Foreign Affairs says missions have no authority to pick accounting officers. Some mad coming out there. Uganda signs Africa Water Agreement. Some good news as well coming in there. Uganda has solidified its position as a hub for water and sanitation management in Africa by signing a historic host agreement with the African Water and Sanitation Association. Recently, of course, National Water received some good backing, and hopefully for the different districts that we did mention, for the different sub-counties that have had quite a lot of problems during the dry season, sometimes getting, we did mention it here on Smart Means Business, getting particular areas such as Bombo, Kawanda, Matuga, those particular areas where it gets so bad. Those ones which are being told they will get a little bit of relief coming in. But in some more news, NSSF servers set to get some more than 10%. The fund managers say the servers body had performed better in the 12 months to June than in the previous period. That is some good news coming in for NSSF savers. Government dismisses Semuju call for medical checkups on Museveni. And then Karuma closes for fresh bridge works. You can imagine the implication on the transportation when it comes to this. You have had the highs and lows, and of course lots of stranded travelers really in regards to this. I hope it gets done quickly. Nakaseke on high alert over confirmed mpox case. And of course, coming back to what are you doing right now in regards to climate change? Quite a lot. Are you planting those trees? Are you doing something? Environmentalists say such nature-based solutions can protect the environment while at the same time generate returns on money invested. Please get your daily monitor. You do have opinions, of course, coming in there and giving you the latest. But coming into the new vision, we do have government has approved new structures and job descriptions, mergers, government releases recruitment plans for affected employees. We did also mention this, of course, here at Smart Means Business and talked about what is the fate. Now, what is really out there is that, of course, the intention is that internally, those particular affected employees should get first priority even within. And it is coming in for internal priority rather than external recruitment, and that is what was being posited. The very first priority is to make sure that as many as possible of the employees are retained or recruited rather than looking outward. But of course, we do know that sometimes a few will have to be let go. The government has set December 30th, 2024 as the deadline to conclude the rationalization and merger of agencies whose bills are still before Parliament. Chitezi tragedy, child victims lack school fees. Unfortunately, there has been quite a number of them destabilized, and what should be done about that? Half of boarding schools do not meet standards. This is by the minister, and that is said they do not meet those particular standards. We did have, of course, this mentioned last week in light of the different fires that gutted schools, a school in Kenya, and we did say here at Smart Means Business that what are we waiting for? Do we always have to wait for a tragedy to have all the key stakeholders, all the different stakeholders up in arms looking at all this compliance, and if there are any particular gaps, looking for these gaps here? Do we have to wait for a strategy? And we did mention that we had that discussion here. You can please get onto YouTube and different social media pages. You can find us on X, Facebook, as well as YouTube. And YouTube will give you the ability to basically recap on some of the conversations that we have had. You can find us on the social media pages as Smart24 TV Official, Smart24 TV, or Smart24 TV now on X. Please find us there and let us know what your opinions are. Experts predict higher interest as NSSF assets grow. And of course, you do have your total magazine within this, and of course the competence-based assessments coming in there for those students who are already off and have started. How government plans to combat student hunger and especially nutrition, all tied up together. We did have the president, the minister, coming and saying, let them have milk, let them have eggs. Well, and of course, you do know that in most cases, there has been an outcry and a rally for parents to really be very particular. Don't send your kids to school hungry. Can you pack them something? Things that are really automatic. But I think a lot of research has to be done as in why this has been failing and what are is it the poverty? Can't you get a potato and just pack it as is usually done in certain particular areas? Is that even possible, or is it really impossible? Why are children hungry in school? Why are they sleeping in school? UBOS revealed that at least 4% of urban children were more likely to receive, 41% of urban children were more likely to receive school meals than their rural counterparts, 32%. Food for thought. Get your new vision and your daily monitor and go through the latest news as well from the press. For now, let's take a short break. We will be right back after this message.
Smart 24.